The Volvo XC60 has always been a quiet achiever in the world of the premium midsize SUV, but it's just had a big facelift. So is this refresh enough to keep it tempting for families who are looking for both practicality and a dash of luxury? Let's find out. There are two trim levels available for the mild hybrid XC60 variants. And for this review, we're in the flagship Ultra B5 Dark, which is $7,000 more expensive than the base plus B5 Bright. It sits in the middle of its nearest rivals, the Audi Q5 TFSI and the Lexus NX 350h all-wheel drive, and it comes stocked with great luxury goodies. There are also two plug-in hybrid versions of the XC60, but they do sit well over $20,000 more. Standard features include a panoramic sunroof, electric front seats with heat and ventilation functions, Napa leather upholstery, a heated steering wheel, as well as an updated 11.2-inch media display that has inbuilt navigation, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as other Google apps. Our test model has also been fitted with an upgraded Bowers & Wilkins sound system, active air suspension, tinted rear windows, and a front seat massager. But that does tack on over $5,000 to the price tag. I still think this offers relative value compared to its nearest rivals, because a lot of the standard luxury features this car has, you do have to add for extra cost on its rivals. But the full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The XC60 has a graceful and poised curbside presence. I like its wider stance, the smoother body paneling, and the redesigned grille, especially with all the dark accents, the air intake vents, and those really cool looking Hammer of Thor headlights. It's not trying to be sexy per se, but it's definitely very handsome, and it's one that you'd be happy taking home to meet the parents. The cabin is pure Scandi chic, and there's refreshingly not a lot of plasticky surfaces in here, which is great. Everything feels really solid and premium. The Napa leather upholstery and the panoramic sunroof also just really elevate this cabin space. There are new features like the updated 11.2-inch media display, crystal gear shifter, and natural driftwood inlays across the dashboard and the central console. I really like that the former just adds a little bit of warmth and texture to a cabin, and a lot of its rivals don't often have that. The front row offers the most space and comfort, and these front seats are really ergonomic and offer great under thigh and side bolster supports, plus you get those extra heat, ventilation and massage functions. So it's really easy to get into a comfortable position in these seats. The cabin is simple to keep neat and tidy because of the available storage options. You get a good sized glove box, decent storage bins, and the usual cup holders. The middle console is on the shallower side, and really the only thing that I don't love is the cup holders because they're a little bit dicky looking. But I do like that you get a dedicated phone tray, and it's here that you get a wireless phone charger as well as two USB-C ports. You will be comfortable with the new media display if you're already familiar with Volvo and Polestar systems. However, if you're not, it might take you a little bit to get used to it. I do like though that the graphics are really crisp and the touchscreen very responsive. This has wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a bunch of inbuilt Google apps. The Bluetooth connection though did prove to be a bit patchy this week. Sometimes my phone calls and my music came through, sometimes it was just the music. A lot of the times I did have to actually repair my iPhone 15 Pro Max this week. A little tweaks would see that improve. A wide connection does improve functionality greatly, but for reference, I don't like leaving my phone on charge all the time. In the back row, the seats are pretty firm but have supportive backs, so they still manage to be comfortable on a longer journey. Access to this row is pretty good, but the wheel arches do cut into the openings just a little bit. And the only complaint that my son really had back here was that the doors are quite heavy, so he did have to slam them shut. But the other amenities he really enjoyed this week, like directional air vents, dual zone climate control, 2 USB-C ports, and plenty of storage options. I personally really like that you get hardened, easy to clean kickback seats. I really love that the outboard seats in here have inbuilt booster seats, which is really great if you have older kids who may be underneath the 145 centimeter recommended height to not be in a child seat anymore. They're really handy. But you do have ISOFIX child seat mounts and 3 top tether anchor points back here if you still need them. The boot is really practical with its level loading space, power tailgate, and hefty 613 litres of storage capacity. I like too that you get a 12-volt socket back here and that you can lower the height of the boot lid with the active air suspension via these buttons here. And a big bonus, you actually get a temporary spare tyre in this. The Ultra B5 Dark on test here is all-wheel drive and has a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol mild hybrid engine, which produces up to 183 kilowatts of power and 350 newton meters of torque. A 48-volt system with an integrated starter generator takes care of the mild hybrid tag and basically just gives you better performance and efficiency. Overall, the power outputs do give this a feeling of having a bit of a spring in its step around town and on the open road. This XC60 has a claimed combined fuel cycle usage of 7.6 litres per 100 kilometres, which isn't too bad for a turbo, but definitely makes you realise it is a mild hybrid. But combined with a 71 litre fuel tank, which is fairly large, you do get a theoretical driving range of up to 934 kilometres, which is really good for a family mid-size SUV. My real world results are on your screen now, and that's after doing mostly urban trips with one longer trip thrown in. Overall, I'm pretty happy with that result. There's plenty of power here and enough in reserve as well that when you do have to really push it, it's going to respond for you. Which means that, like I said, it does have a bit of a spring in its step around town and on the open road. It's super easy to keep up with traffic. To get the most out of the 8-speed transmission, you do have to drive this a little bit more aggressively than what you might realize. And that's because while it does shift through those gears pretty punctually, there can be a bit of a lag when you're accelerating from a full stop, which is important to realize because when you want to take a gap or cross traffic, you really do want to know that you can do it quickly. Visibility is really good in this. I feel like I can really see all around me with the wide windows and the slightly higher driving position. It's also really refreshing that the window at the back of the C-pillar is actually quite wide. It really helps with blind spot visibility. On the open road, the ride is pretty well composed. Most of the bigger bumps are absorbed really nicely by the suspension without feeling like you're losing any feedback. It's definitely not one that floats over the surface. Just adding on to how it handles, the cabin's really quiet, which adds to a really nice refined on-road experience. And like I said, it does have a pretty relaxed composure on the road. The only time that it sort of loses its cool a little bit is when you have to take a sharper corner at speed. I mean, it's not that big of a deal because how often are you going to be driving your Volvo super hard? But it is something to consider if you like doing the winding roads. Like most mid-size SUVs, it's a very easy one to park. It's got parking sensors all around it, as well as a clear 360-degree view camera system. I think how the camera video feeds actually blend into each other could be improved a little bit, just so it's a bit clearer around the outer edges. But outside of that, it does its job. The current XC60 hasn't been tested with ANCAP and is unrated, but it does come with a host of standard safety equipment, including 7 airbags, blind spot monitoring, and rear cross traffic alert with rear collision warning. I also really like that you get a programmable spare key that's color coded, which means that sneaky teenagers can't accidentally swap them. And you can set the speed and volume limits via this key, which is great for new parents who might have some nerves with their kids driving. But the full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need any more safety details. The XC60 is covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is reasonable for the premium end of the class. You can pre-purchase a 3 or 5-year servicing program, and the 5-year program costs $3,870, which is on the more expensive side compared to its nearest rivals. But Volvo does throw in complimentary roadside assistance for 5 years. Services are well spaced every 12 months or 15,000 Ks, whichever occurs first. The facelifted Volvo XC60 Ultra B5 Dark is the sort of car at school pickups that doesn't need to brag, just gets on with things and looks good doing it. This has family-focused features and lovely road manners. I do think a few tweaks are needed to the media system to make it truly user-friendly, but otherwise this is a really solid entry, and that's why it gets a score that's on your screen now. If you're after more details, check out the full review at carsguide.com.au, and I'll see you on the next one.